Tonight, the price of diesel is going up by a shocking $2.50, that is, per gallon. We'll have details. And big lick throw in the house between Lee Mark and Julius. We'll see the hilarious exchange that led the Mesopotamia rep to profess his love for Madam Speaker. Plus, Jose Mai back in Belize from surgery, but on his knee, not his back. So what happened? He spoke to 7 News. Also, normal trade has been restored with Mexico tonight, and the northern border is open to cargo movements. We'll talk to Belize's ambassador in Mexico City. Plus, Sargassum already swarming in Belize's waters. It's predicted to be a record year. How will it impact tourism? You'll hear tonight. We've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Good evening with your news. I'm Indra Craig.
This newscast is brought to you by Cellular World, your authorized Samsung distributor.
Shop smart for your Samsung devices in Belize and enjoy benefits you won't get anywhere else. When you shop locally for your Samsung, all your devices will be covered by a 1-year local warranty. You won't get that when shopping with the other guys. When in doubt, always look for the Cellular World seal to know you're getting the real deal. Shop with confidence and enjoy your Galaxy knowing that it can be repaired locally at our Samsung Service Center by certified Samsung technicians using original parts and machinery. Even better, enjoy the best LTE experience in Belize, knowing that your Samsung devices are compatible with major local carrier networks. Get the ultimate Samsung Galaxy experience only when you shop from authorized Samsung resellers nationwide.
Compulsorily acquire Stake Bank Island.
But they're acquiring it for a private company.
The government has colluded with a bank to seize from a private owner.
No, the state is stealing his land.
This government used its power to take land from a Belizean developer to give to a foreign company.
And those are things that the U.S. government takes really seriously.
Washington noticed. They've been watching. So when the Prime Minister went begging for help,
especially for the United States, we need equipment. We need intelligence.
But Washington's response? The United States invited 12 Central American and Caribbean heads of state to discuss border security. John Briceño was not invited. What does that tell you?
The U.S. is willing to sanction. They're willing to be aggressive and do whatever they can against these individuals who are taking these actions in these countries.
Secretary Rubio have the Department of State assess the current state of rule of law, judicial independence, and property rights protections in Belize.
$4.3 million was paid for legal and professional fees in relation to Petrocaribe. And another $4 million is projected to be spent every year for the next 3 years. $16 million in legal and professional advisory fees. What we done with Petrocaribe in 2016.
The government's blue bond carried another $85 million in transaction costs. That's tens of millions more in legal and advisory fees. So who's collecting?
Show those fees!
Exposed by Freedom of Information requests, the government admitted Courtney Coy LLP was paid $227,000 on just one disclosed contract. How many more are there? So while millions of dollars are being spent, the Prime Minister is begging Washington for help securing our borders.
It is important that we get the necessary assistance, especially for the United States. We need equipment. We need intelligence.
But there's no shortage of millions for legal and advisory services.
Who is getting those legal and professional advisory fees?
It's time to come clean, Mr. Prime Minister.
We have centralized systems of corruption in this government.
Week 6 of the NABL season showcases 3 flaming matchups this weekend. On Friday night in Dangriga, the Dream Ballers look to bounce back after an heartbreaking loss and take it to the Mopan Trojans. Then, on Saturday night in Corozal, the Spartans try yet again to get their first win against the undefeated #1 team in the league, the Orange Walk Running Rebels. And in Belize City,
Them no like me, I mean I like them.
a full-fledged clash as the #2 team in the league, the San Pedro Tiger Sharks, try to stay undefeated against the loaded Belize City Defenders. Entertainment by the NEBL girls, giveaways, and the halftime $5,000 National Sports Council Shooting Challenge. So see you this weekend for an NEBL weekend, sponsored by the Government of Belize.
Kite flying is fun, but it can also be dangerous. Fly kites safely by following these tips. Never use wire, metallic thread, or wire-reinforced strings. You could be electrocuted. Remember, even a safely built kite can cause a power outage if it gets caught in a power line. Always use paper, plastic, or wood to build kites. Never fly kites near power lines, in the path of traffic, aircrafts, or near highways. Always fly kites with a responsible adult in open areas, in dry weather, and with clear visibility. Never attempt to remove your kite from a power line. Always call BEL at 0800-235-2273 if your kite gets caught in a power line. Belize Electricity Limited. We care about your safety.
En Atlantic Bank, tu comodidad es nuestra prioridad. Nuestro centro de contacto está diseñado para mejorar tu experiencia bancaria. Con una amplia gama de opciones de servicio al cliente, ahorras tiempo y esfuerzo. Puedes llamar fácilmente para bloquear o desbloquear tus tarjetas de débito y crédito, realizar consultas de cuentas y acceder a información detallada de tus tarjetas. Ya sea que necesites asistencia con la banca en línea, apoyo para comercios o consultas generales, nuestro equipo está listo para ayudarte. Para mayor comodidad, si todos los operadores están ocupados, puedes dejar tu número y un operador te devolverá la llamada lo antes posible para asegurarse de que recibas el apoyo que necesitas. Para mayor seguridad, es posible que necesitemos verificar tu identidad con un conjunto de preguntas sencillas. Recuerda, Atlantic Bank nunca solicitará tu nombre de tu usuario ni contraseña de Atlantic Online por llamada telefónica, mensaje de texto o correo electrónico, asegurando que tu información personal permanezca segura y protegida. Nuestro equipo de apoyo está disponible de lunes a viernes, de 8 a.m. a 6 p.m., en inglés y en español. Simplemente marca al 223-1212. Esta es la línea dedicada para nuestro centro de contacto. Atlantic Bank se compromete a brindarte un servicio excepcional y las herramientas que necesitas para administrar tus finanzas de manera conveniente y segura. Aprovecha al máximo nuestro servicio del centro de contacto.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
Tonight, Belizean business and vehicle owners are bracing for a heavy blow, maybe the heaviest ever. And that's because the price of diesel fuel is going up by $2.50 per gallon. So, in Belize City, that means it's going from $12.05 per gallon to $14.55 per gallon. Now, that's a 20% increase in one fell swoop. Certainly, the largest single increase we have ever reported on. And because diesel is the primary fuel in the transport, commercial and industrial sectors, it will surely have a major effect on the cost of living. This evening, vehicles were already lining up at gas stations. The sharp, unprecedented spike is the result of soaring world oil prices as a result of the ongoing conflict in Iran, which has paralyzed shipping routes for oil tankers. In other breaking news tonight, cargo is flowing once again from Mexico through Belize's northern border. After a 6-day closure, the border was opened up to cargo trucks earlier this afternoon, reportedly after a meeting on the Mexican side with brokers, transporters, customs, and the cartel, which has allegedly demanded that each crossing truck pay a fee. The opening is reported to be temporary, but it is a huge relief for Belizean importers who had shipments pending. For some, though, especially vegetable importers, it's too late because their vegetables have already spoiled. We'll have more on this story later in the news when we talk to Belize's ambassador in Mexico. The second day of the budget debate kicked off today, and it was a lot more explosive than yesterday. It was the UDP Mesopotamia area rep's turn to give his presentation, and he came out swinging at the Ministry of Housing. But with Julius Espat sitting on the government side, he wasn't going to let that slide. Espat and Chang got into several back and forth exchanges that energized even those in the galleries and had Madam Speaker constantly reminding them of the standing orders. Here's a snippet of that feisty part of the debate.
But you can spend hundreds of millions on highways. Soon, we will build enough highways to reach the moon, Minister. We will reach the moon soon, because look, they're going to want to change every bloody thing that is placed. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Because they're getting excited now, because we're going to spend too much money on roads. Soon, we're going to build enough roads to reach the moon. To God, we're going to reach the moon. Hey, talk about chow mein. Soon you might not have no vegetables because on the need for this only border. That's because you don't want to spend on the farm road. Because farm road don't make no lot of money. That's why you don't want to spend the farm roads. Farm road don't make a lot of money, Minister. You know that. Right? Yes, but you know got a tar and you got expertise.
Members, no, please. Visitors in the gallery, please.
Because I look at the guys over the side and they brag about how this one to get that one, and that one to get that one. But you ask this side of the house, have you received any starter homes member for Albert? Have you received any member? Say yes. I will ask you, Miss Minister, right? We from the member of Mesopotamia have not received nothing. But we want you to start treating us equally, just like how you treat the other divisions. Every member over that side gets starter homes. This side I get nothing, nada. Right? I don't get to you yet, you know, we'll come back right there, no worry. Today I am officially asking, and I know the wider Belizean public is also curious and wants to know who is getting these starter homes. I know for sure that my constituency is not on that list. Remember, please remember, not you, Madam Speaker, but please remember everyone that is listening. It is taxpayers' money being spent and not your own money. All information must be public information. All information. Not to hide it, bring it out the front and make a seat and make us scrutinize it. But anyway, back to the thing, make us slow down. I don't take my pills this morning, Minister. Quote our sermon, by the way. Quote our sermon. No. Don't start that. Don't start that foolishness. Don't start that.
Yes, sir. Not necessary,
don't start that.
Cartel,
right?
please.
I have never, ever mentioned anything, Madam Speaker, about any simple pills or anyone over that side simple. So don't even start that. This year, 8 million is budgeted for 100 houses. I'm not done yet, my Bali. You got your chance, Madam Speaker. I think you need to put a little restraint on the member, you know, Madam Speaker,
no,
because...
There's no need for that. Just respect the standing order.
No, $8 million is being budgeted for 100 homes this year again. So that roughly will come out to $80,000 if they could keep it in budget, Madam Speaker. Right? That's $186 a square foot per house.
Is there a point of order? What's the point of... We need to see. What's your point of order?
Lying, Madam Speaker. No, in the budget does it say 100 houses?
No.
Madam Speaker, if I'm lying, then the budget book is lying. If I'm lying, the budget book is lying. Madam Speaker, if I'm lying, the budget book is lying.
there
He
a
will
point-
have his chance tomorrow
Madam
to
Speaker.
defend.
Second, is there a point of order?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
The member cannot continuously be lying. There is no
that's
number
not a
in
point
it.
of
There is
order.
nothing
That's
in the
not a
there is
point
nothing
of
in the
order.
budget that
That's
says we are
not-
building 100 houses.
That's
nothing.
not a point of order. 1 second, Leader of Opposition, I don't need the help. There is no such point of order. I don't, please, get members in the gallery. Therefore, member for Mesopotamia, let's try this again. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am so happy, Madam Speaker, that you're so fair, and that's why I love you.
No need for that. Absolutely no need. I'm following orders.
Because
Standing
freedom of
orders.
speech and freedom of expression cannot be suppressed.
And Espat got his turn right after to rebut Chang's claims. But as he was getting revved up, Chang started to leave the chambers, which set Espat off again. Here's how that went.
Mr. Speaker, there's one personality that I totally I have no respect for, and that is a deceitful liar. The definition of a deceitful liar, Mr. Speaker, it says a person that focuses on lying to others regarding the facts. One term, you're a rep, where you going? Okay. One term, you're a rep, go eat. Yeah. One term, you're a rep. Be responsible and sit down and take your lick. Go have some food one term, area rep, and we'll speak later. There is nothing on record. There is nothing in the budget. There is nothing printed. There is no interview given. There is no person that answered from our side that says the houses cost, no, that the people have to pay back $80,000 for these houses. That's a lie. Everybody knows that this program is heavily subsidized by government, nearly 75% subsidized by government. The houses are built approximately $60,000, and I'll explain why they are approximately $60,000. And the recipients pay a sum of $12,000 spaced out in 10 years. So when this member from MESOP gets up and says a blatant lie, that is what started the back and forth, because it is irresponsible for somebody to come in here and says he, over the entire weekend, he was reviewing the budget, stay up till 2 in the morning, and still manufactures the information to suit him. That is a deceitful liar.
And while there was sparks during that part of the debate, Henry Charles Usher kicked it off this morning. In his speech, he began by criticizing the leader of the opposition and referred to her speech as being AI-generated.
This negativity seems to be endemic in the opposition, and that is why they remain divided. Members of our own party criticized the leader of the opposition's 2-hour rebuttal, calling it baseless and lacking in substance. All Channel 7 could say was that it was 20 minutes longer than the Prime Minister's speech. And while these persons are not wrong, it seems that the real reason they did not like it is because it was not negative enough. And maybe the member for Albert is trying to break away from all that, but she still has a far way to go. As I wanted to hear what proposals, plans, alternatives that the leader of the opposition would offer. But like speeches before, there were none. No plan, no alternative allocation of resources, no cost-saving proposals, no different implementation strategy. It seemed to be AI-generated criticism without grounded solutions. Madam Speaker, we know about ChatGPT. Well, now there is ChatUDP. Talk and more talk without any authentic ideas.
Today's debate is still ongoing. When he either resigned, took a leave of absence, or was removed from cabinet, the Prime Minister said that Hossein Mai had to go deal with a back injury. Well, that's a story that spawned 100 memes because it seemed like a likely story since the prevailing narrative was that the U.S. Embassy had pressured the Prime Minister to remove Mai. Well, that's what we reported, and we stick by our story. But as they say, two things can be true. Jose Mai publicly explained that he does have herniated discs and did go to Merida, where they told him he needed spinal surgery. And he ended up going to Guatemala City for that surgery, except got knee replacement, not spinal surgery. So how did that happen? Well, Mai returned home on Friday after 18 days away and was keeping a low profile as he recovers. But after a picture was published online of him in a wheelchair, we reached out for an interview. He spoke to Jules Vasquez via phone about his procedure.
So I'm in recovery mode right now. Yesterday I went to see a doctor just to ensure that everything is still good. There's no fever. There's no major inflammation. And so I think we're on our way to recovery.
But people are puzzled or confused because it was widely publicized that you had a bad back, but now we see you have gone for knee surgery. Explain to me how that came about.
Well, I too was shocked. I went prepared for spinal surgery after the doctors in Merida had said, there's the only option is surgery to the spine, and then in Belize, the doctors had said the same. When we sent the images to the specialist in Guatemala, he saw the images and he said, well, this definitely requires surgery, but you need to come so that we can do an assessment and evaluation of you. I was a little shocked when they told me that while the spine is in bad shape, what contributed to it was the situation with my right leg, which was not fully extended. You have pain over time, and I think the human body just tends to lean on one side to avoid pain on the other side. I was a little confused because I had to decide what I would do, my family and I. And so we had to decide what to do. Who do you believe? You've checked so many doctors, you're here now. The time is running out. Nobody is eager for surgery, to be honest. So I had to decide what to do. And the doctor was, I think, very honest. And he said, listen, if I need the money, I can do surgery to the spine and charge you the money. And you go back home. But that is not, you're not going to be right. He said, in 6 months' time, you'll have the same problem. Because the situation is your leg that needs to be corrected. So I had to trust the experts in this case. I have no other choice. And so we decided to do the complete knee replacement, which now should allow me to have a better posture in walking, supposed to balance of the weights, and with therapy, of course.
Well, so what's your prognosis and timeline for recovery?
Well, I need to remove the stitches in about 10 days' time, I think. Right? I stay in my house because the wound is still slightly open, infection can get in, so I cannot leave my home. After that, I start therapy, to try to get me back.
So you're looking at months or a few months before you can say you're fully, as they say, ambulatory, able to walk around.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 months.
My surgery was performed 10 days ago. But as you heard, it was done in Guatemala City after a Merida diagnosis. The change of countries led Jules Vasquez to ask that tough question, which Mai had no difficulty answering.
People will say, okay, you gone their initial assessment in Merida, they say it's your spine, etc. But you ended up in Guatemala for your surgery because your critics will say, and I have been one of them, because you can't go to Mexico because it's too hot right now with the cartels, and maybe the cartel they have your name on one paper. I have to ask, Minister.
That's okay. I was in Merida and Tizimin last month and a half. I went for the Agro Expo, Cattle Expo. As a matter of fact, I was with some personnel of the Ministry of Agriculture. My past advisor, Hugh O'Brien. I was with the Director of Livestock, Mr. Belemino Esquivel, with private sector people from the cattle industry, Dr. Joe Myers. I was there in Kissimmee for about 3 days. And then 2 weeks after, I drove to Candelaria, Campeche for another cattle expo. As a matter of fact, we bought some animals from Kissimmee. And so I've been around Mexico, Jews, and people will say anything and everything. But I know what I stand for. And so what people think, people say, it doesn't bother me. I know where I stand, me and my family. And so I'm not a problem. But just like any other Belizean, traveling through Mexico right now is challenging. You have to be careful where you go, right? But I don't know if my name is on any paper, as you say. But I tell you, I've been around Kissimmee. That's Yucatan, the biggest cattle producing area in Yucatan. Actually, in the peninsula, I think. And then I was in Candelaria, Campeche, another place which they claim is very hot. Hot, I mean, in quotes, right? But I have no problem with nobody there, none at all.
So if he is free to move in Mexico and will be free to move around in a few months, will he be moving back into cabinet? When we asked the minister about the possibility of returning to politics, he said that he would be willing to return, but he leaves the decision in the hands of the Prime Minister.
Do you expect that when you make a full recovery, that you will be returned to cabinet?
Yeah. Well, politically in my constituency, Jews have never stopped working. I am in the hospital in Guatemala, and my people in the villages are working. As a matter of fact, right now we're expanding the village in Trinidad. They send me photographs every day. I make telephone calls. I coordinate from my home. I'm very good at doing that. The same thing I do with my farm. My son is on the farm. I coordinate by telephone. And as to coming back to the ministry, that's entirely on the Prime Minister. He knows the caliber of minister he had in agriculture. My passion is around farming and farmers. I think everybody knows that. And I think I bring a lot to the productive sector. But again, Jules, that is addressed on the Prime Minister.
And so, but you would be prepared to return if the Prime Minister chooses to call on you?
Of course, Jules. I think that Belize's strength and potential is only in two areas. We're not a country that is rich in minerals, in petroleum. We're a country that has two important things: land and people. And so the potential is with the people and with the land of this country.
And clearly Mai thinks the PM, who is Minister of the Sugar Industry, could use his advice. You'll hear that later on when we asked him about the BSCFA rejecting the PM's proposal on Sunday. And that's coming up along with a whole lot more, but we'll talk to the Belize ambassador in Mexico about the closing of the border to cargo shipment when we come back. Plus, later on, we'll look at the effect Sargassum could have on Belize this year. Don't go away.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
When the job demands more, Milwaukee Power Tools are designed to handle the toughest jobs on the construction site. If it's speed, durability, and performance you need, Milwaukee is the perfect choice. For unstoppable power at an unbeatable price, make it Milwaukee. Nothing but heavy duty. Available at Benny's, quality and savings.
Compulsorily acquire Stake Bank Island.
But they're acquiring it for a private company.
The government has colluded with a bank to seize from a private owner.
No, the state is stealing his land.
This government used its power to take land from a Belizean developer to give to a foreign company.
And those are things that the U.S. government takes really seriously.
Washington noticed. They've been watching. So when the Prime Minister went begging for help,
especially from the United States, we need equipment, we need intelligence.
But Washington's response? The United States invited 12 Central American and Caribbean heads of state to discuss border security. John Briceño was not invited. What does that tell you?
The U.S. is willing to sanction. They're willing to be aggressive and do whatever they can against these individuals who are taking these actions in these countries.
Secretary Rubio have the Department of State assess the current state of rule of law, judicial independence, and property rights protections in Belize.
$4.3 million was paid for legal and professional fees in relation to Petrocaribe. And another $4 million is projected to be spent every year for the next 3 years. $16 million in legal and professional advisory fees. What we done in Petrocaribe in 2016.
The government's blue bond carried another $85 million in transaction costs. That's tens of millions more in legal and advisory fees. So who's collecting?
Show those fees!
Exposed by Freedom of Information requests, the government admitted Courtney Coy LLP was paid $227,000 on just one disclosed contract. How many more are there? So while millions of dollars are being spent, the Prime Minister is begging Washington for help securing our borders.
It is important that we get the necessary assistance, especially from the United States. We need equipment. We need intelligence.
But there's no shortage of millions for legal and advisory services.
Who is getting those legal and professional advisory fees?
It's time to come clean, Mr. Prime Minister.
We have centralized systems of corruption in this government.
Oh gosh, I'm a say, the fretting up of the year of flexing. I'm a say, the frowning up on me here is wearing. Whoa.
My name is Mrs. Esther Smith. I'm a co-owner of A Glimpse of Paradise gift shop here at Altoona, booth number 13. And me and my husband have to offer some of the most finest wood products here in Belize, all hand done by him. And these products are made from some of the most beautiful, finest and hardest wood here in our country. I first started at Atlantic Bank as, went there to start a saving account. From there, I have my checking account with the POS machine. And then it becomes more like a family to me because there are personnel from Atlantic Bank that will always come here, check with us, make sure everything is okay, clean our machine, and they will always ensure that we have abundance. My advice to anybody that wants to choose Atlantic Bank to be their bank is that don't be afraid. You won't have any regret. Atlantic Bank, you will find them to be very efficient, reliable, and competent.
Compulsorily acquire Stake Bank Island.
But they're acquiring it for a private company.
The government has colluded with a bank to seize from a private owner.
No, the state is stealing his land.
This government used its power to take land from a Belizean developer to give to a foreign company.
And those are things that the U.S. government takes really seriously.
Washington noticed. They've been watching. So when the Prime Minister went begging for help,
especially from the United States, we need equipment, we need intelligence.
But Washington's response? The United States invited 12 Central American and Caribbean heads of state to discuss border security. John Briceño was not invited. What does that tell you?
The U.S. is willing to sanction. They're willing to be aggressive and do whatever they can against these individuals who are taking these actions in these countries.
Secretary Rubio have the Department of State assess the current state of rule of law, judicial independence and property rights protections in Belize.
A safer Belize begins with all of us, and the Belize Police Department is taking bold steps to build that future together. The new 2025-2029 Crime Control and Crime Prevention Strategy is transforming policing from the ground up, reforming practices, rebuilding trust, and strengthening accountability. With investments in modern technology, upgraded infrastructure, and smart data-driven tools, officers will respond faster, work smarter, and endeavor to keep communities safer. This plan puts community partnership at its core. It will require more engagement, result in more transparency, and introduce new programs that support our youth, prevent violence, and promote second chances. From fighting gang violence and illegal firearms to confronting emerging threats like cybercrime, the BPD is building stronger, smarter, more specialized teams to protect every Belizean. And with enhanced training and leadership development, our officers are better prepared than ever to serve with integrity and professionalism. The Belize Police Department is rebuilding, reforming, and renewing its commitment to you. Together, we can create a safer, stronger Belize.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
On Monday, Hector Mejia, a San Jose Socots resident, was reported missing. Well, today he turned up dead in the Mopan River. As Julissa Roberts reports, he was more than a village resident. He was also a creative. Here's more.
This is the part of the Mopan River where the body of 35-year-old Hector Mejia was recovered this morning. Police are currently calling it a death investigation, and his body was not seen with any injuries. Mejia was known by his artist name, Namole, and has been described as full of life. He was initially reported missing on Monday by his brother-in-law and was last seen on Saturday. Today, he was found by the chairman of San Jose Socots while he was doing a taxi run.
I was coming from Benqueviejo on my taxi along with a passenger when I observed a body floating, and I realized that his head was above the water, so I noticed that someone was inside the river but not alive. So that's when I decided to make a full stop and come to observe and do a check. That's when I realized that it was the body of our beloved friend, Hector Mejia. So then we proceed to take him out with the passenger, Mr. Amilcar Cocom, who was very courageous and has strength, because it's nothing easy to find a body like that, and worse if it's of our beloved villager.
Mejia's body awaits a post-mortem examination, which will determine the official cause of death. Until the answers come out, Mejia leaves his friends and family with many questions, but his love for music endures.
Time to share won't disappear. In my mind, it will always be there.
We'll let you know what the post-mortem finds. Last week, San Pedro saw a triple murder as part of the rivalry between drug gangs, and tonight, there is proof of why there is such an intense rivalry on the island. A police report says an operation near a seaside mangrove area in San Pedro town this morning turned up a large black crocus bag containing 29 black plastic-wrapped rectangular bricks, which were identified as cannabis. The items weighed in at a total of 38.36 pounds, and they were labeled, sealed, and deposited as found property. This afternoon, there was a collision between a motorcycle on East Canal and a Nissan Rogue coming out of Church Street. The impact launched the motorcycle driver into the air, causing him to land on the other side of the Rogue's hood. The motorcycle had the right of way on the canal side as a stop sign is posted on Church Street. As we told you at the top of the news, the Mexican side of the Santa Elena border has been opened for the movement of cargo shipments. This is after a 6-day closure that was causing panics among Belize's merchants who import vegetables, fruits, and various goods like detergents and cleaners. Well, tonight they can rest easy, at least for a little while, because after a meeting on the Mexican side between the vested interests, reportedly also including the cartel, which had forced the closure, a working agreement was arrived at. Today we spoke via Zoom, that is, with Belize's ambassador in Mexico City, Oscar Arnold, who told us that he had been following it closely.
I believe it was late Tuesday night of last week or early morning Wednesday. I was notified that there were some issues with the cargo deliveries, cross-border cargo deliveries at the northern border. So I made a few calls. I made a few contact with individuals that are on the ground. And yes, it did happen that I was informed that there was a disruption in the delivery of cargo. And then that is when it started from my end to try to find out exactly what was going on. I was contacted by a few businesses in Belize who had shipments that were already held up at the border, as well as shipments that were being prepared to be sent via road to Belize. I was informed Thursday of last week that there were discussions taking place and that the issue would be resolved by Monday or Tuesday of this week. And here we are, Tuesday, the 24th of March. And I was informed about an hour ago that there was a resumption of activity of transportation of cargo through the border. Some of the individuals who I spoke with were the Director General for the Central American and the Caribbean region here in the Foreign Ministry for Mexico, special advisors for the state of Quintana Roo, the governor's office, as well as the head of the customs unit for the National Guard there at the border on the Mexican side. Obviously, there was a lot going on behind the scenes. And from my end, really, as the ambassador, as the representative of the people and government of Belize, what we were trying to do was to discuss and try to see what we can do through the formal channels of communication with the authorities. I know that there's been quite a bit of information shared through social media posts, but as my capacity as ambassador, I can only work the formal channels and the established channels that are afforded to me.
And when he talks about a lot going on behind the scenes, we note that our sources tell us that cartel involvement is the dark hand in this entire situation. Indeed, some brokers and truck drivers claim to have received threats in attempting to move their cargo. But according to Ambassador Arnold, when he checked with the Mexican authorities, they say that they had not received any formal police reports in regards to these threats.
It's tough to get official information from individuals. In this instance, for example, the one that started last week, when we checked with the authorities, when we checked with the police, because we had heard that there were threats made against custom brokers, threats against truckers, drivers. But when we checked with the police there in Chetumal, they're saying that they didn't have any official reports or anything of that sort. If they did that, there would be an investigation that would have ensued. But so it was hard to try to connect the dots and connect the pieces. All we could do is to try to keep up a level of diplomatic pressure from my office with the individuals who are in charge of security, who are in charge of customs, and who are in charge of maintaining daily communications. And so What we did was we were working with the federal authorities. We were also working with state authorities, like I said, special advisors through the office of the governor. How much that impacted the decision that was made today to resume activities, that is anybody's guess. But what I can report on is that since last Tuesday and Wednesday, when we found out about it, we were working all the channels that we have available to us.
Arnold explained that at times brokers would misrepresent who they work for, and it would lead to other issues. He briefed us on what he came to learn through his interactions with the Mexican National Guard at the border.
When I spoke to the individual in charge, the general in charge of the Guardia Nacional at the border that also oversees some custom duties, he said, Ambassador, we're open for business. We are conducting business as per usual. There is an issue with the brokers where the brokers refuse to process entries or to process pedimento. And I said, but so what was the rationale or the reason behind that? And he said, your guess is as good as mine. My people are on the ground. We are ready. We are waiting. Speaking to a couple individuals who I know who provide that type of service on the Mexican side of the border, one of them said, no, he says, I have no problems if they come to me, but it seems that there are certain brokers who handle certain type of businesses on the Mexican side, and getting one of them to speak to me was a little bit difficult. There is a practice, Jules, in Mexico, whenever a group of individuals, whenever a individual would want to get some level of credibility. Some of them have lost their lives because of it, of misrepresenting who they represent. And so when someone says, okay, well, the cartel is doing it, but they can't give you who or what or where or when, it begins to beg the question whether they're just using the cartel acronym or the cartel name to try to evoke some level of desperation on other people's part. And so I will say that, I'm not saying that in this instance that didn't take place, but that is a realm that I don't operate in, and I would be doing an injustice to our listeners and to your viewers to speculate on something like that.
Ambassador Arnold says that he does urge brokers and Belizeans to make a report if they do experience any threats, but up until now, they have not received any formal reports of threats. He adds that the border is open and both sides experience losses whenever cargo is unable to move smoothly.
I understand that some importers have multiple containers that have been held up at the border. There are also some importers who their suppliers here in Mexico, wherever they're located, advise them, listen, I don't want to send these as yet because it might be held up on the road or it might be held up at the border. So best it's warehoused here until we know what's going on. So to quantify a number, I understand that it was between the vicinity of maybe 26 to about 34 containers that were, for loss of a better words, were in limbo. And depending on the cargo in those, well, the millions of dollars can vary. Going back to the question that you had, is how difficult it is. It's very difficult. We are here in Mexico City. We do have an honorary consul who I rely on heavily in Chetumal, who is on the ground. But like I said, the difficulty that we came up against was that there was no official reports of individuals saying there is a threat against me and I'm going to make a report, or I'm going to have the police make a file on it. And so the police are saying, well, Ambassador, we don't have any reports of those, and we would look into it if we have it. Customs is saying on the Mexican side, we're ready to work. We have our people here. We are actually losing money as well, because if cargo doesn't transit, then we can't make the charges and have people pay the quotas and the fees that they are supposed to pay. I'm sure it's the same thing on our side of the border, where our customs, if there's not cargo coming in, then there's no cargo fees that can be gained for the government of Belize.
Tomorrow you can see the other part of our interview where Arnaud shares safety tips for Belizeans traveling to Mexico for the Easter. And turning back now to our interview with Hosemai, he may be in a wheelchair for the time being, but the Orange Walk South representative still keeps very informed about the sugar industry. Over the weekend, the Belize Sugar Cane Farmers Association voted no on the PM's proposal to give up their litigation against Tate and Lyle and BSI for fair trade premiums and receive $1 million in fertilizer in exchange. Well, the former Minister of Agriculture, who said today that he understands why they voted no, as nobody knows the plight of the farmers, like, well, farmers. He said the PM's offer was not justified.
From the first time I read that there's going to be a decision made, I figured that the no would have won, because nobody knows their business better than the farmer, cane farmer himself. So I don't think that the offer was justified. But I keep away from sugar industry. It's not my area. I am representing a large amount of the cane farmers in Orange Rock. Orange Rock South is, I think, the second largest branch. And so I listen to the complaints of the farmers daily. I think San Esteban is the biggest. That's the Prime Minister's constituency, and then followed by my constituency, Orange Rock South. So I listen to the complaints, I listen to the cries daily. And so I figured that it would go in that direction. Because I don't think that the farmers did not know what they were getting. $1 million of fertilizer is not much for, if you're giving it, it is a lot. You know, if you have nothing and somebody gives you $5, it's a lot. But if I'm giving you $1 million and I want you to give up $11 million, or potentially dropping $11 million, I don't think that made much sense. But the farmers know that better than me. They know their business better than anybody else. Sometimes we politicians look from outside in. But to really understand the industry means that you have to live with these people for years and years to come. If I would have been there, I would have voted no. I believe so. I would have voted no, because I would love to see that justice be served, that test the judiciary system, right? I think I needed to see that test the judiciary system. In other parts of the world, you always hear that the multinationals chancing the poor farmers in South America. We hear it in Ecuador, in Peru, all these multinationals. But Belize is Belize, right? And we have a judicial system, right? So to me, I would have wanted to see that system tested. It has never happened in Belize before, where some group of farmers take a multinational to court. It has never happened before. Never, ever, ever.
He went on to say that the settlement proposal needed further consultation than what was being offered.
The Prime Minister, that's the advice you would have given him.
My advice would have been a little different. I think that more of a settlement could have been arranged. If you are owing me $11 million, I don't have the money to pay you. Well, then let us settle. Can I give you $1 million a year? I mean, let us negotiate. But I don't think it went that way. It was like, I'll give you $1 million fertilizer, and then you drop the $11 million. So I don't think there was much negotiation there. It was either or either, right? So I would have been a little more cautious on making these offerings. Because the farmers are farmers because they've been in business for many years. And I'm sure that they did the math. Right? $1 million But there's how far can it take us, how far can it go, right? And so $11 million is a much bigger figure than $1 million, right? So the farmers are very needy. The farmers are very needy, and I'm sure that some of them were tempted to take $1 million, but $1 million has 6 zeros. It sounds like a lot. But when you divide it among the keen farmers, there's not much that could have benefited from it.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll look ahead to a rough sargassum forecast for this year, and we'll have a closer look at Frederick V. Tapir, who survived screw worm to be put back into the wild, but can he survive there? Don't go away.
This newscast is brought to you by Cellular World, your authorized Samsung distributor.
Champion security, champion security, champion security. Yeah. Your security is our business, so we gonna protect you like a champion, like a champion.
Guess what, Mr. Handsome? Yeah, over there, champion security. This is the place to be. What does sign say? Champion Security. Here at Champion Security, we provide quality service. You know why? Such as triology lock, fire alarm, IP camera system, gate operator, biometric lock, and alarm system. Champion Security. Make a go check out where they go on inside of Champion Security. And boy, nice to meet you, my brother. Yes. Tell me a little bit more about Champion Security.
Well, welcome, Mr. Hanson. Here at Champion Security, we offer fire system, alarm system, camera system, gate operator, access control, and also trilogy locks and magnetic locks. Everything you need to do with security systems for residential and businesses, you could find everything here at Champion Security. We also consist of 12 technicians, and we offer technical support 24 hours. So anything you need for your security systems, you could find everything here at Champion Security.
Remember, guys, here at Champion Security, we live by our motto, where your safe stay is our business. Give us a call now. Don't forget to check us on Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media platforms. And continue to shake it to the max all the way. Champion Security, the best place to be. We care for your safety.
You want to rent it? It's not a problem. We got remote gate.
At Atlantic Bank, your convenience is our priority. Our contact center is designed to enhance your banking experience. With a wide range of customer service options, you save time and effort. You can easily call in to block or unblock your debit and credit cards, perform account inquiries, and access detailed card information. Whether you need assistance with online banking, merchant support, or general inquiries, our team is ready to help. For added convenience, if all operators are busy, you can leave your number and an operator will return your call as soon as possible to ensure you receive the support you need. Depending on your transaction type, we may need to verify your identity through a set of security questions. And remember, Atlantic Bank will never request your username or password for Atlantic Online via phone call, text, or email, ensuring your personal information remains safe and secure. Our support team is available Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in both English and Spanish. Simply dial 223-1212. This is a dedicated line for our contact center. Atlantic Bank is committed to providing you with exceptional service and the tools you need to manage your finances conveniently and securely. Take full advantage of our easy-to-use contact center services today.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Compulsorily acquired Stake Bank Island.
But they're acquiring it for a private company.
The government has colluded with a bank to seize from a private owner.
No, the state is stealing his land.
This government used its power to take land from a Belizean developer to give to a foreign company.
And those are things that the U.S. government takes really seriously.
Washington noticed. They've been watching. So when the Prime Minister went begging for help,
Especially for the United States, we need equipment, we need intelligence.
But Washington's response? The United States invited 12 Central American and Caribbean heads of state to discuss border security. John Briceño was not invited. What does that tell you?
The U.S. is willing to sanction. They're willing to be aggressive and do whatever they can against these individuals who are taking these actions in these countries.
Secretary Rubio have the Department of State assess the current state of rule of law, judicial independence, and property rights protections in Belize.
Belize, you're watching the Nation Station, Channel 7.
Sargassum. The experts agree that 2026 may turn out to be the roughest year on record. Researchers estimated that over 9.3 million tons of sargassum are already en route to the Caribbean and Florida as of March. And based on projections, the 2026 season is expected to be even worse than the 2025 record, which saw 37.5 million tons of seaweed accumulate across the Atlantic. And it's already arriving in Belize. So if you plan to spend your Easter on the islands, there is a high possibility you will be seeing some sargassum out there. Jo Marie Lanza found out more on how serious of an issue it is for tourism.
This is the current Sargassum mat washing up on San Pedro's beach near the downtown area. And with the peak of the tourism season less than a week away, those pristine beachfront views are in danger of becoming overrun with the sargassum that continues to find its way onto the shores of San Pedro and Key Caulker. Resort owners and hoteliers are anxious because of how it affects their overall guest experience. But it's a consequence of climate change that requires more than just a band-aid fix. And the Belize Tourism Industry Association has recognized the need for both private and public partnership in order to address the problem.
I think that one of the things that we've been looking at from BTIA's point and talking to all our members is that sargassum is not an inconvenience anymore. Sargassum is a national issue, and we really and truly need to get all the key pillars, including government, to really understand that and for efforts to be placed within the mitigation process of sargassum. It is not something that we would be able to do by ourselves. It is not something that we will be able to accomplish even overnight. But there has to be greater collaboration between public and private sector when it comes to dealing with sargassum.
Sargassum has been a pervasive problem since last year, when grant funding was acquired through the Belize Fund for Cleanup Assistance to mitigate the impacts on tourism. And according to Perez, the cleaning up isn't the only challenge. It's procuring the equipment to do so. And Belize, like many other countries, has been waitlisted for cleanup machines.
Those are situations that we have to analyze. Like I said, it is not something that we can say, okay, this is the solution for it, because many of the countries in the region have not found a particular solution to it because of climate change, and it's really outside of our control. But we have to take it a little bit more serious in terms of how we're going to really get to the sargassum before it hits the beaches, right? And I know the Ministry of Tourism has invested currently in terms of buying some machinery that they will be implementing later this year. The problem that we're facing right now is that because these machineries are in high demand, those countries that are buying in bulk are getting it first, and then we are on the waiting list, and that has really been the delay when it comes to the implementation of these things. But I think that we're heading into the right direction in terms of really working towards finding the solutions that we need. And I know that the Belize Tourism Board, along with BTIA and the Belize Hotel Association, we've been looking at a more strategic approach. There are constant meetings that we're having in terms of how this is going to be rolled out. But the intervention and is critical right now, and I know Minister Mahler has been assessed on this. I mean, we've really brought this up to him in a meeting that we had, and he will bring this up to the government. There needs to be more resources in place.
But until that heavy-duty equipment is acquired, most properties and hotels have taken up the arduous task of doing their cleanups individually. Jo Marie Lanza, 7 News.
Yesterday, we told you a bit about Frederick the Tapir, who survived screwworm. It's been 3 days since his release back into the wild after 2 months of treatment. But can Frederick manage to reintegrate and thrive in the forest? We spoke to Dr. Celso Pot via Zoom to find out more. Courtney Menzies has that story.
Frederick the Tapir stumbled onto the Dix family farm 2 months ago. He was weak from a severe screwworm infestation and wouldn't have survived without intervention.
It was in a real bad state,
had a heavy infestation of screwworms, and we thought it wasn't going to make it. Moving him to the zoo was not on our radar, and we were happy that the family in Blue Creek was able to offer us a space. They had a well built fence area for us to keep him. And the family and community members from Blue Creek provided food for the animal for the 2 months that it was up there. We did in the beginning were concerned that we might have to put the tapir down because he wasn't responding as how we would have wanted earlier, right? And when you see these flesh-eating worms doing damage to this animal, he was suffering, but thankfully, medicine work, intervention work.
It was because of a combined effort between the zoo, Baja, the Wildlife Referral Clinic, and Dr. Isabel Paquet Duran that Frederick was able to make a full recovery. And now he's making his way through the Rio Bravo Conservation and Management Area.
So we suspect that he came from the Rio Bravo Conservation and Management Area managed by Program for Belize, given the proximity of the Rio Bravo to the area where we rescued the tapir. And so we return him back to the Rio Bravo Conservation and Management Area. Since we released him Saturday night, he is still it's like in a 2-mile radius of where we release him, and he is moving around. As I said, he's moved about 2 miles, and he is near a river in Program for Belize, so that's very good. That was one of our concern, that he was going to stay around water bodies. That is important for tapirs, both for their daily needs, but also for their biology.
This is the first time a tapir has been released back into the wild in Belize. It has been attempted in the region, but there haven't been many success stories.
There have been several attempts in the region to rehabilitate tapir and release them back into the wild, and they always they haven't had a happy ending. But the challenge is that up in Mexico, where this is attempted, they have water underground, so subterraneous water. They don't have water on the surface like we do here in Belize. So we have a lot of creeks and rivers up in the Calakmul where that was attempted. One of the challenge was always getting water. And as I said earlier, water is an important element for tapirs.
And Dr. Pat hopes Frederick can help them better understand tapirs in the wild.
We hope to be tracking him for at least 1 year. This will also provide us with insight into how these relocated animals adapt back to the environment, and it will be good information for wildlife conservation. I mean, you don't hear it a lot, but tapirs are also conflict animals in Belize. They're crop raiding tapirs. They eat out the crops from farmers, and so looking at how we address some of these conflict situations by intervening and also putting tapirs farther away from human interaction is something that we need to look at as well.
Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
We'll let you know how his reintegration went. Today is World Tuberculosis Day, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness is raising awareness. According to the ministry, we have fewer than 100 cases that are diagnosed each year. And this includes new cases and relapse cases, primarily within men and within the age groups of 35 to 49. We spoke with Dr. Jose Canol, the Assistant Deputy Director of the MOHW, who told us more.
Whenever we screen for TB, and one of the questions that we ask our patients and that a person should be aware of to consider suspect that they have TB, we ask, have you had weight loss, unintentional, fevers, night sweats, and cough for more than 2 weeks? So these are the 4 screening questions we use to evaluate patients to see if they have tuberculosis. And I think that whenever patients consider, or clients, anyone listening to this, consider that they could possibly have TB, these are the 4 different things we look at: fever, night sweat, weight loss, and cough for more than 2 weeks. So throughout the year, not only in March or for March 24th, which is World TB Day, but throughout the year, the ministry has in each region's educational campaigns that occur. And this is in conjunction with our adherence counselors and social workers within the region and the public health nurses, where they go into schools, different workplaces, and provide counseling, information, and testing for tuberculosis, which includes the PPD skin test, which is applied to anyone who would like to be screened for tuberculosis. And it also forms a part of our screening process when we're doing contact tracing for tuberculosis. I think importantly, of note that whenever we do screening or contact tracing for tuberculosis, we have to understand that tuberculosis, primarily there is the infection and there is the disease, or the latent and the active disease. What does that mean? That means that if I have developed tuberculosis, or I had tuberculosis, or infected by tuberculosis, my immune system might be strong enough that it keeps it under control. But whenever I become weak, my immune system becomes weak, whether I develop HIV, immunosuppression through malnutrition, diabetes, stress, all of these things can lower my immune system, then which causes the tuberculosis infection to become tuberculosis disease, or the active form of tuberculosis, which would then accompany these symptoms which I previously discussed, like fever, weight loss, coughing, and night sweats.
He was having no luck in the local courts, but Jeremy Enriquez and his attorney Anand Ramlogan are claiming a, quote, landmark and resounding legal victory in the Caribbean Court of Justice. They say they have, quote, successfully overturned a critical ruling at the Caribbean Court of Justice, reaffirming the fundamental right of access to justice and clearing the path for a full hearing of their constitutional case before the Belize Court of Appeal. This comes after 3 decisions delivered yesterday by the CCJ. In a Zoom press conference today, Ramlogan explained the context and significance.
The Court of Appeal struck out and dismissed all the appeals we filed. We filed an appeal against the refusal to grant the injunction. We filed an appeal against the wasted cost order. And we filed an appeal against the judgment he delivered in the bias application, without giving anyone an opportunity to be heard. The Court of Appeal struck off all 3 on technical grounds raised by the attorneys representing the Attorney General and the Election and Boundaries Commission. It was in those circumstances we immediately had no choice but to appeal to the Caribbean Court of Justice. We applied for special leave, and to our great surprise and delight, the Caribbean Court of Justice said that they will treat the applications for special leave as the hearing of the appeal on an urgent basis. Those appeals were heard. Mr. Peter Knox, King's Counsel from the English Bar, represented me in the wasted cost order appeal, and I represented Mr. Enriquez in the other 2 appeals. Today, I'm pleased to announce that mere weeks after the hearing, the Caribbean Court of Justice has issued orders allowing 2 of the appeals. They have allowed the appeal with respect to the refusal to grant the injunction, and they have allowed the appeal with respect to the wasted cost order imposed against me. It is in those circumstances the Court of Appeal will now be forced to confront the substance of these appeals, and will have to address the elephant in the room, which is the question of judicial bias in this matter.
But how does this put them any closer to challenging the voters' list, which remains malapportioned? Well, here's how Ram Logan addressed that.
This is a battle between David and Goliath, and the law is the pebble that we have in our hand to slay Goliath. I am but the slingshot, and we are aiming to defeat the mighty Goliath. The population of Belize has trebled, almost quadrupled in the last quarter of a century. And there has been no form of redistricting to realign the malapportionment of the electoral boundaries, to give substance and meaning to the letter and spirit of the Belizean Constitution, which requires an equality of votes based on a principle of redistricting. That is a very serious matter that strikes at the very heart of democracy in Belize. And I am happy to be standing beside people like Mr. Jerry Enriquez, the Belize Peace Movement, Ms. Pitts, and others to stand for this larger and greater cause. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with upholding the rule of law and vindicating the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, so that there can be an equality of votes consistent with what the forefathers of the Constitution envisioned for the people of Belize. And that is why I'm involved in this matter.
A release from Enriquez says, quote, with the CCJ's ruling, the appeals will now move forward before the Belize Court of Appeal, where the core issues, including the legality of the 2025 elections process and the matter of judicial bias, will be thoroughly scrutinized. That's all we have for you for our newscast for tonight. Thanks for watching. With you on news, I'm Indira Craig. Remember, you can find a full transcript of the news at 7newsbelize.com and see the streaming video on our Facebook page. Have a great night. Join me back here tomorrow at 7.